no numbers, there's no pictures, there's no videos, there's no gameplay. I don't like it.
Yo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. Today, we are at the finale of Sunrise Stories. We're going to get into the last story, which is Presage, Presage, however you want to pronounce it. This story is going to be the last one, like I mentioned, but this story is also continuation from the first story. This is how I planned it from the beginning when I was writing it. I was like, okay, so I'm writing this first story. I knew how it was gonna end. And then for the final story, I wanted to just continue off of that. So, this whole story is gonna be told from the perspective of Chugsy, and he's gonna be going back to Silver Hills. That's this whole story. I'm super excited to talk about this because, yeah, it's just I'm thrilled. I'm very thrilled to talk about it. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. After leaving Sanctuary, I was shaken by what Valerian had told and shown me. I knew what that thing was capable of, from what Bryce told me to what I witnessed. I couldn't let her have that sort of power. It's a risk, no matter what her intentions are. I made my way back from Glimmer Deep to Silver Hills and arrived at the city. So, if you don't remember Royalty, the very first story, Valerian revealed that she had this thing called the Gleamstone, which is similar to the Gloamstone. So, obviously, Chugsy's not okay with this, and I don't think, even in, like, anyone's situation, I don't think anyone would be okay with that if they knew about the Gloamstone and were like, what are you doing? Because Valerian had this thing the whole time, you know, even when Bryce and the other three heroes were still alive. So, it's just kind of wild. Like, if Bryce knew about it, like, oh my god, you know? But yeah, I think it's this is a very important story in the fact that Chugsy's going to do something about it. So yeah, let's keep going. I had a plan to reveal what Valerian had in her possession to the three princes. By the way, if I know it's kind of like out of the blue, but we'll talk about it. So in Luck of the Draw, again, if you haven't read it, go read it. I'm surprised if you haven't read it, you're crazy. Go read it now. Do it. But if you haven't read it, you know that I revealed a lot in Luck of the Draw. Like, I talked about the areas that hadn't been, like, put in game, like they were just mentioned in lore. I just grabbed bits and pieces, but I created my own lore for it. So yeah, and in Silver Hills, there were these three princes, and they were elven princes, and they kind of dictated everything at that time. So just wanted to point that out, just in case, you know, for some context, you know. But yeah, let's get into it. In any case, they could report Valerian to the king, and this whole matter will be resolved before anything bad happens. So this is the big thing that we're going to reveal in this story. There's a king, an elven king. It's very important, but yeah, let's keep going. I remember Bryce telling me how much he wanted to find his friends and save Sacred Grove. For all that to go to waste because of some power-hungry queen and her all-powerful shard makes me sick to my stomach. It's not something I'm going to stand for, and I sure hope the princes won't either. I arrived in the capital city just before sundown. When I walked towards the palace, I was approached by a young woman I hadn't seen in a while. So, funny enough, this art of this elf is on the FR Wiki. Don't know if it's official concept art. I think it is, but I thought might as well use it. You know, why not? Why not? So yeah, decided to use some concept art from the FR Wiki to tell this part of the story. So yeah, let's keep going. I cleared my throat and asked, Razil, what are you doing here? She smiled and said, I could ask you the same, Chugsy. I thought you were exiled from Silver Hills. I shook my head and said, it's a long story, but the short part of it is that I am an ambassador for Silver Hills. Kind of like a short explanation, but hey, no longer exiled now. She clapped and said, wow, impressive. As for me, I'm here because of my father. I gulped and asked, the king is here? Why is he here? She shrugged and said, My guess is he heard about Silver Hills being reopened to the public and wanted to take over. I know I don't want my brothers running something so important. So, Razil is the daughter to the king. Yeah, I know. Bomb drop. Like, oh my god, I'm expanding on Silver Hills, and I hope to do that in whatever I write next. But yeah, I think this is a super important that we're dropping more bombshells. But yeah, let's keep going. I sighed and said, "Well, I guess I'll be speaking with your father about this important matter then." She tilted her head and asked, "How important is it? Is it more important than a night on the town with me?" I glared and said, "Yeah, it is. A friend of mine runs a coffee shop down by the street. You can't miss it." Before she could say another word, I made my way to the palace. So this is kind of, this is how I want to do Chugsy's character, is that he cares more about these important matters than a relationship, because I think in a lot of my stories I write about relationships forming, and in this one Chugsy's like, listen, there's a coffee shop down on 9th, go. Like he's not having any of it, so I just thought that was funny to write in. But yeah, let's keep going. Before she could say another word, I made my way to the palace. When I walked inside, I saw an empty throne instead of the 3 thrones I was used to seeing all the time. I looked at it and said to myself, I gotta say, this throne is a lot scarier than the ones the princes exiled me on. Then suddenly I heard a voice from a corridor that said, Chugol Zaitak Rayalari. I've heard great things about you from my sons. They told me about how you managed to save Silver Hills by casting a dome over the city. And this is, again, just image of Elven King. I nodded and said, yeah, that was me. I will say, I am surprised to see you here, King Luthias. He turned to me and asked, why is that? I gulped and said, well, it's been a decade since I last saw you, and I didn't expect to see you make a return. He sat down in his throne and said, I spent the last 10 years looking for a way to take down that barrier, but it seems someone brought it down. I nodded and said, that's what I came here to talk to you about. He leaned forward in his throne and said, go on, I'm listening. I explained what happened while he was away and who came to Silver Hills during that time. He scratched his chin and said, so, this Glom invasion is the reason why the barrier was taken down? Interesting. If there's anything else, you may continue. I nodded and said, well, I just got back from Sacred Grove, and Valerian told me she was the one who took down the barrier. His eyes widened, and he asked, how? I picked up a rock from the floor and said, she has this powerful artifact called Gleamstone, but it worries me because there was a stone similar to it, and it was destroyed at the end of the invasion. He frowned and said, hand me that rock you're holding. I gave it to him, and he said, Sacred Grove is the reason we've been trapped here for so long, and why many of our people have been stuck there as well. That queen and her stone may have released us from our prison, but it's only a matter of time before we're locked away again. I sighed and said, something needs to be done then, my king. He nodded and said, oh, I couldn't agree more. He crushed the rock in his hand and said, with the barrier down, we'll make sure no one threatens our people ever again. I smiled and said, you mean we'll get rid of the stone? He shook his head and said, more than that. Take Sacred Grove and make it ours no matter the cost. I'll show Valerian the price of power, even if it means taking everything from her. If that stone puts us in danger, then this means war. So that is where Sunrise Stories ends. That's kind of where I wanted to end it, on this big final story of, hey, I'm gonna reveal this big character that's gonna take over Sacred Grove. So yeah, that is Sunrise Stories. I spent a good amount of time writing this. Glad I finally finished it, and I can't wait to write more. So yeah, that's Sunrise Stories. Thank you guys for watching. If you did, I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.